Anyway. Okay, well, I guess we might as well get started here. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regular meeting. Just a quick reminder that our meetings are being recorded and will be made available on our for public viewing on our YouTube channel. Tonight we got Kevin with a part 2 of Restoring Electronics. Dave is going to give us an update with his SDR adventures, and I think some troubles from Windows, but I'm not sure we want to see that. And then I've got a couple of things as well. A quick discussion maybe on an active probe project I'm thinking about, and doing another technology today, my 3 thoughts. So does anybody else have anything they want to add to the agenda or speak up about? Al's saying no, so I think I'll put him on the list just because. Okay, Kevin, do you want to start off? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, sure. Again, it's not that long because we did some of it already, but we'll go over what happened or not, as the case may be. Sharing. There we go. I know it's always in the same place, but I still have to look for it. Okay. Everybody see that?
Yes.
And okay. So anyway, yeah. Now I can't see the screen, so yeah, if anybody has questions, somebody pipe up. Anyway, I just thought this was applicable to some of us. I'm a do-it-yourselfer, but I've never been a done-it-yourselfer.
Yeah.
So some of us may identify like that. Don't know who that might be, but so anyway, so this was what I started with last time. An old pet and its data set to go with it. And I wanted to I cleaned the board up a bit, and so I had to replace a bunch of capacitors and wanted to put some power on and then see what happens and all that kind of stuff. So that's what this is kind of about. Well, that's the new board. All the electrolytic caps were replaced. It's amazing how much smaller they are than the old ones. You can kind of see, well, in the back, I don't know if you can see that one in the back. That's about like less than half the size of the other one. And it's the same rating. It's just quite amazing. What I don't know, and I'm curious is, or maybe somebody knows, I wonder if the size affects like things like the equivalent series resistance, the SR and stuff on the caps. Like theoretically it should be less because there's less stuff in there, but then maybe everything's smaller and lighter and thinner. So maybe it's more. I don't know. That was something that just crossed my mind. Anyway, the board looks, I think it looks pretty good now. Anyway, that said, so one thing we talked about last time was cleaning the case. And I know somebody suggested trying CLR, and I thought, okay, well, I'll grab some CLR. And this was one corner sort of the case. And I used a couple of different brushes, including like a toothbrush and something a little bit, more stiff with, some better bristles. And that didn't seem to help much. Anyway, I got one of these scratch brushes. And at the tip there, this thing rotates, right? And so you can extend this brush, and this brush is basically hundreds of fine little pieces of glass. It's almost like fiberglass without the the epoxy or whatever, the resin. And that, along with some CLR, did a pretty good job, I think, of getting rid of all the surface, or getting rid of most of the surface rust. You can kind of see the direct comparisons there. Even like this big area in the corner, it did a pretty snazzy job of cleaning that up, because I decided I wasn't going to paint it, but I did want to make it look, a little bit better than it was. And it really didn't take that long, or it wasn't that hard to do. I mean, this is just the side of the case. I just did this part here, and and so this is what it looked like after about, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes of working away on it. This one here is more than surface rust. It was well into the metal for whatever reason. But a lot of the other stuff, I mean, it's greatly reduced. Not fantastic, but it is, I think, a little more aesthetically pleasing than it was. Anyway, and then so I got everything back together, put all the wires the way they should be and all that kind of stuff. And I said that I would video the power on. So this is the video of powering it up. And you can see I went in the back with my phone to record what was happening out the back, just in case something interesting happened. So turn the power on, and no, that's not what happened, but I know you guys like smoke, so I had to put some smoke in there. And anyway, from the back, again, it was pretty uneventful. It was the CRT lit up, which was good, and no high voltage arcs off the flyback transformer or anything like that. So that was okay too. And anyway, the front screen looks like this. And so, and I had done some previous, research and Googling and so forth and so on. And apparently there's a laundry list of many, 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 many things that could cause this garbage on the screen kind of thing. So now I'm at the state where I just have to hunker down and try and figure out what's going on. A couple of the power supplies seem to be out of tolerance, and in a very bad way, like 5 volts, I was reading 9 volts. So I don't know if there's any chips left or not, or if they're any good. Anyway, so that's going to need more work. So that's where I stopped with that part anyway, because I just ran out of time. And then I did, along the way here, I sort of found some guidelines on things to do when you're, restoring stuff or powering stuff that maybe hasn't been on for a long time. And even in this one, when I powered it up first, I turned it on and it was like no power, like everything was completely dead. And it was just the switch. The main switch was so oxidized that it wouldn't let any power through to the transformer. I flicked it, a dozen times and then checked the resistance through the primary of the transformer. It was fine. Anyway, so just little things like that. So yeah, but I always check fuses before I turn the power on. That way, if they blow, I know that they were at least good before. Because if you don't check them before, how do you know they were good after? Or how do you know they were good before? Sensory, and I did this, extensively through it, looking for corrosion and leakage, damage to components and capacitors and circuits and wiring and stuff like that. Solder whiskers that can appear apparently. I didn't know about this, but cadmium plated components. Apparently there's a lot of cadmium used in electronics, not a lot of it externally, but apparently some older stuff may have cadmium plating. And cadmium dust, to my surprise, is extremely carcinogenic and toxic. If you're breathing an atmosphere that has 50 milligrams per cubic meter, which doesn't seem like very much, for an hour, that's a lethal dose. So anyway, don't breathe cadmium. And apparently beryllium's even worse. And it's also in a lot of power electronics because it's got high dielectric strength and it's quite good at dissipating power too, or allowing heat to flow through it. So anyway, smells, make sure there's no funny smells. And if there's any controls, are they free to operate? Do they stick? Are they grinding or anything like that? And document what you observe. As we always like to, joke around, the difference between amateurs and professionals is the quality of your notes. And some of the components, now, fortunately, I have no paper capacitors in a Commodore PET. It's too new for that. But there was a YouTube video where a guy was going through stuff and the capacitor looked fine at like 5 volts. But as soon as, and that's like a 400 volt capacitor, as soon as you got up around 100 volts, then it failed. The leakage was too high. So just because your meter says it's okay, don't assume that it is. Carbon resistors, again, they could. I didn't realize they could drift as much as they do, but apparently they can drift quite significantly. And the good old selenium rectifiers. Anybody that used to play with old TV sets and radios and stuff has probably run across one of these. So anyway, and again, document what you observe. Previous repairs. Is there any evidence of previous repair work? And how do you know, if there was, how do you know that they did it right? You may not, or they may not have. So don't assume that. And if you have to get replacement components, I'm of the opinion that usually the Alibaba and eBay deals aren't worth the aggravations. I know it's less expensive, but usually if you're going to a catalog store like Mauser or DigiKey, yes. Is it more expensive? Yes. Is my time worth something? Yes. So I just buy the parts. I know that they're theoretically good, and I shouldn't have to question them. But anyway, but that's also a personal judgment that you have to make. So anyway, that was just some sort of general guidelines that I came across and, collated while I was going through this. And that's it. So there we go. Whoops.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for that, Kevin. Eric's got a question for you.
Okay. Hello, Eric.
Hey there. Nice job, Kevin. Very envious, as you, I'm sure, assume. How difficult was it to match up the caps that you were like with modern values? Did you have to go out of spec much, or are they all?
No, I was able to find everything right on.
Yep.
Except for the voltage. So I just went up in voltage on some of them. That's all.
Right.
But
how many? About like a couple dozen, something like that, in total?
Yeah. Not. I don't think it was even that many.
Right.
Yeah. No. Probably altogether it was probably a couple dozen. Okay. I didn't show the board in the back. There was a bunch on there that I replaced as well.
I noticed you mentioned you used a current limiter. So you're limiting that rather than voltage. You gave 120 right away.
I was going to use the current limiter, except I couldn't find my Variac that I know I have, but it's in a box somewhere that I don't know where it is. So I just turned it on.
It went full tilt.
Just go for the gusto. And you saw the smoke, right? So
actually, conveniently, my video dropped right at that point. So
okay. All right. Well, then okay.
I'll have to watch it on the rerun. Okay. Yeah. Very nice. It's cool.
So hopefully it's still, make it work anyway. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Okay.
Kevin, do you think the problem that you're seeing on the screen is related to software, or do you think there's something funky going on with components?
I've heard that. Well, from what I read, there's like I said, there's a laundry list of stuff. It could be ROMs that are bad. They've lost the program. Could be bad connections somewhere in the ICs, circuits, power supply issues. So it's going to take a bit of time to sort through it. That apparently is one of the most common things that when you power up, that's what you see.
Okay. And check Eric's garage for your Variac, because he's looking for one.
If you have two.
Yeah. Okay. Drew, you're up.
Yeah. Okay. That was really interesting. I understand your fascination with this. I was wondering if you unseated and reseated the ICs on the graphics section.
I did.
Yeah. How did that work?
I did. Yeah. All the ICs that were socketed, which there weren't many, by the way, there was only a few.
Right.
I unseated them, reseated them, and I actually used deoxit on all connectors and all ICs.
Okay.
The deoxit, whatever, the one that's meant for, the plastic and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I went out and bought the real deoxit at whatever it was, like $30 or something for a little can or something.
That's a Commodore PET?
Yes, it is.
And so, yeah, that screen looks very familiar. I've got to figure, especially with the triangles and stuff, it's a graphics thing, I know. Anyways, good luck. That was a great story. I really enjoyed that. It's very encouraging. I might now try to turn on my old apples.
Well, yeah, good luck. I'd like to know how you make out.
Well, I want to play Chopper Attack again. I have a game called Chopper Attack that I played religiously during university, and I want to see if I can get it running again.
Oh, cool.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Eric, you got another question?
Okay, yeah. Actually, more of a comment. So when Hassan and I were down at the Vintage Computer Festival last year down in New Jersey, we ran into a guy who actually lives pretty close here in Schaumburg. And you're probably familiar with the Toronto Pet User Group, right? TPUG. They're still active. And him and I, his name's Brian, him and I have sort of loose plans to attend one of their meetings, in the future. I think they meet monthly in Etobicoke. So if you'd like to tag along and bring your possession, that I haven't been to one since the 80s. It's the world's longest running Commodore user group. So, and they would meet in person. So, and I'm sure you would have a wealth of information there. You could.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if I don't get anywhere with my troubleshooting experiences in the next little while, then that would probably be a good place to go.
Yep,
for sure.
Okay, cool.
I was just having nightmares thinking if you had to start checking the resistance of all those resistors.
There's actually not that many.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's not that bad. I mean, it's just if you do, you just sit down and half an hour later you're done, right? I mean,
half hour, yeah. Okay, Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, it seems to me. Let me lower my hand. Yeah, it seems to me that when you get that gibberish on the screen, it's either one or two things. Well, it's one or two things going on. One, it's the because those older PCs have got like a memory map for characters, so they read a thing and it's got like not a bitmap, but like a character that it prints on the screen. And so a lot of them had ROMs where they had this character set. And if you want to learn about how those graphics works, take a look. I think it's John's Garage, JOHN, or Ben Eater. It's one of the two guys where one of them actually builds a graphics card from scratch with discrete logic chips, and he shows you the scan lines, the porch, and the whole thing, and he shows you how to build a character set and everything. It's really fascinating. So that goes a lot deeper than what you need to go into, Kevin, but it might be valuable in terms of you just trying to understand from a high level how that graphics display works, right?
Yeah. No, I know. I thought of that too. But even things like the bootloader. Suppose the bootloader is corrupted, and it tells it, go off to X memory instead of Y memory, and it thinks that the graphics ROM starts at this address instead of that address, and I suspect it has to do with the ROMs because they apparently don't always survive well. So I may have to look into replacing them. I don't know.
And that was my next comment, is that it's a 6502, right?
Yes.
Yeah. When the 6502 boot, I don't think it starts at 000 address. It jumps down and it starts at another address. And I think the top memory are all the vectors for interrupts. So if it jumps to the wrong location, everything gets messed up. You're right.
Who knows where you are, right? So it's like, that's what I mean. It's a very deep rabbit hole, I'm sure. I'm about to find out how deep it is.
Do you think resistors are going to be an issue with that?
No, I don't.
Because it's all digital logic, right? I don't think it's going to be a resistor issue unless it's an analog feeding the sweep, the display.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. I put the resistor comment in there before just in case, like for radio applicable stuff, because that's certainly applicable in the radio world. But for us, you're seeing Eric's comment in the chat there.
We're all a bunch of analog guys here. We don't know what digital logic means, right?
Yeah, what's this digital stuff, right?
Bert, do you still have a question for Kevin or a comment?
Not
Really, I just I joined late and I hit the hand button by accident.
Oh, okay then, Bert. Well, welcome aboard. Okay, any other questions or comments for Kevin?
Just a comment. I remember getting magazines and typing programs in hex. Do you have a stack of magazines, Kevin?
No, I don't, but I'll bet they're on the internet somewhere.
I thought Marty was going to say, "Do you want a stack of magazines?"
No, definitely
Well,
not.
Kevin, what month do you want?
Yeah, they're probably in the barn, right, Eric?
Oh no, they're on the coffee table. So.
Okay. Any other comments, queries, questions for Kevin? Kevin, whatever your name is. Okay, thank you for that, Kevin. Dave, you ready to go, or do you want to wait? You're muted.
Muted, Dave.
Yeah, I could go now, or you could go. It doesn't matter. I've got like it's going to take me like 5 or 10 minutes. So just, you know.
So is mine. Hey, go ahead, Dave. You're geared up.
Okay.
While Dave's getting ready there, Eric, did you want to talk about the weekend coming up a little bit later?
Sure. Yeah, I can plug
right.
it again.
All right, so I got you on the list. All right.
Sure.
Okay, so should I go ahead?
Yep.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is coming back to a comment that even Kevin said, and we all know, generate documentation. So what recently happened to me was that on our visit down to Dayton, and I mentioned this at a prior meeting, and I'll say it again, since I'm Henry Kissinger. So down in Dayton, we went to the Voice of America Museum, and they've got a shack there, and they operate out of a shack, and they've got quite the impressive radio equipment there. Most of this stuff, it's all SDR and with all connected to, large screen monitors, and it's a SDR based radio. And so they had a problem with noise, and you could see the noise in the SDR display. And where I am now, I am plagued with noise. I've got tons of all these birdies and spikes and all kinds of stuff. As I tune my radio, all I'm hearing is garbage. And so when I was there, I thought, hey, SDR is probably a good way for you to visualize your noise. So when I got back home, I've got several SDR radios that I haven't used in a long time. I thought, okay, let me get them running. Well, I started that. When was Dayton? That's when was that, in May?
End of May.
May
Yeah,
14th.
It's now almost July. All I've been doing is trying to get my SDR radios to work because I had not documented how to make them work. And so I went through and it's all Windows, completely just Windows. Windows is a piece of garbage. So what I started to do was I started to document everything I'd done. And for example, here's a little documentation I did, which is just my digital architecture. So I could refer back to this. This is not me going through it, explaining this. I'm just showing you the documentation I generated. So this is my conceptual architecture of all my SDR radios, which, by the way, are now working. I've made contacts on all of them from using FT8. I've made contacts today and yesterday using all of my SDR radios. So this is kind of like the conceptual architecture, all my switches, my tuners, my antennas, all the, the logical connections I've got. So this is kind of like it's a conceptual architecture. Then, you go down, you take a look at, okay, the cables. These are all the cables and where they plug in. So I've got, my ICOM, my Genesis, G11 SDR, my hobby PCB RS HFIQ, you know, and how it plugs in and what I need. Here's my hack RF, which I haven't gotten working yet. That's next on my list, but you can see it's got the hack RF here. Then I've got another PC, which is Ubuntu Linux, which I do all my milling and my 3D printing from. So I'm going to document that as well, because I learned a valuable lesson. Document your architecture, document what it is you're doing. Then right down to the software. This is what killed me, is the software. And so I've got it all working now where, like all my rigs, whether it's the HFIQ, the ICOM 707 or the Genesis G11, I've got it all where it could be controlled from WSJTX or from FL Digi. I prefer Digital Master. I'm a ham Radio Deluxe guy, HRD. So I love HRD because it's all interconnected and I've got it all working. So it's just a point and shoot. Everything works, point and shoot. So this is just documenting now all my connections for the rig control. This is how I'm doing all my rig control. And this is now the sound cards. This is showing all the sound cards I need, which sound cards are connected to which, because this is showing the sound card connections here as well. So this is now showing from the software what is talking to which sound cards and which audio devices. And I've got the same thing like for my HF IQ. I've gone through and I've documented all the settings, how to configure it, you know, how to set it up, you know, how to set it up for digital and voice. You know, I've got everything documented with pictures showing me everything, versions of software, you know, where the backups are stored, everything, you know. And so I've got that now for almost, here's my WSJT, oops. Here's my WSJT architecture, how to configure it, you know, how to set it up for Ham Radio Deluxe and blah, blah, blah. So that's what I've been doing now is I've been, I don't want to save this because I don't know what was changed. So let me just return here and close this. So the moral of the story is document.
I haven't gone as far as that, Dave. That's a good idea, but boy, that's a lot of work.
That's impressive.
But not as much work as when you found out to configure things. One thing I did start to do though was I started to tag the cables. You know, put little tags on them or a little bit of masking tape, and then write on, okay, where does it plug in, all that kind of stuff. But that's still not the best. But I kind of like what you've done. I just got to get my.
That part's easy, Peter. That part, cables, plugging cables from in. It's in the Windows. And here's another thing about Windows. Okay, USB connections to Windows. Windows does the absolute shittiest job of handling USB drivers. It's the shittiest job, and like sound cards. It'll load the sound card driver. The sound card won't be working. You'll be pulling your hair out trying to plug in cables because you're hardware thinking. Meanwhile, it's the fucking driver that didn't load properly, and you have no indication that the driver is not loaded properly. And it's not until I went through the process of taking out all the drivers and reinstalling drivers one at a time, all of a sudden it just came alive and worked out. And don't use USB hubs. If you're using a USB hub, take a gun and put a bullet in your head. Buy a $25 USB card to plug into your PC and use that. Do not use USB hubs.
What's wrong?
It's not about bandwidth. It's they consume, when you plug in a USB hub, it goes and it grabs a whole bunch of resources in Windows, consume it. So when you plug in something else in your USB, it can't get the resources to run properly. The driver loads, but it can't get the resources in Windows to load to work properly. And you'll be led down the garden path. Everything in Windows is saying, hey, it's loaded, it's working. You go to Sound Manager, you see the soundboard, you see the sound card, it's loaded. You see the COM port, it's loaded, but it's not working.
Wow. Okay. Kevin, go ahead.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, Dave, sorry. So, and don't take this as that I'm sticking up for Windows, but I know when I'm troubleshooting stuff in Linux, I use the var/log directory, right? Because there is like Linux logs like everything, right? And I've discovered that Windows actually logs a lot of stuff as well. Like if a driver is failing to load or something like that, it'll be in the events MSC, program. You call up and dig through the events. It doesn't seem as organized as Linux stuff is maybe, but there's a lot of information in there. And I've been fortunate to troubleshoot a lot of Windows issues by just looking up the relevant error that comes up for a driver and just plugging it into Google. So did you do that at all, or did you try that at all?
Yeah, I did look at some of the logs. I did go through and look at, because typically I do that, especially with hard drives. Like on boot up, you go and you get an error. Like I do go through my event logs and check my event logs, and I do periodically go through and check for performance issues. But in this specific instance, I didn't go and look at logs because I was just, you get into that, tunnel vision of, the driver's loading. The driver's loading, it should work. Why,
why is it not working?
Windows,
yeah.
The driver's loading. Why isn't it working?
No, I know.
You get the mode.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And I just wanted to bring that up because I don't know how many other people know how much information is in those logs. If you start looking, it's quite detailed and very extensive actually when you start digging into it. If you're having troubles with Windows, I've found many issues fixed or got through them that way by checking the event logs. So
yeah, and the
and
trick
certainly in Linux
is Google it. You just copy it, paste
exactly
it in Google.
exactly
And you get it comes back from the Microsoft forum, and it comes back with a bunch of hits. And usually the first, 3 or 4, it's going to solve the problem.
Exactly. It's a good troubleshooting tactic for Windows issues.
Doesn't matter. I still hate Windows.
Oh, I don't like it either. As soon as I quit working and can retire, I'm going to go to Linux and I hopefully never look back.
Where's that event log found?
If you just type in, in the program.
Yeah.
Event viewer. You just go
viewer.
The little search icon. Just type in event viewer. And then it's got system security and system. You go, and then it's got application logs. So you look at the system logs.
Okay.
Yeah, you go down and where you want to search in Windows 10 or whatever. Just type in event viewer and it'll come up. And then it'll show all your device managers, all your Windows logs, application security system stuff. It's like, you can spend there's another rabbit hole.
Oh, okay. Let's gray that out for me then.
And what pisses me off the most, Kevin, is that if you go into Device Manager shows you the driver that's loaded. It shows you like a USB driver. It shows you what the USB end device reports, like it's got an ID and a manufacturer ID and all that stuff that Windows uses to load the driver. It shows you all that stuff, but it doesn't give you the status. And all it says is it's working. It doesn't come back and show you what the status is it's got a buffer problem or it doesn't have enough memory or something,
Yeah, I know.
I'm having one of those problems. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got like 7 USB devices connected to my Windows computer. And I'm trying to discover what traffic is being passed through which USB device. Will Event Viewer tell me that?
No. And that there's a really good guy who published a video, and this is what tuned me in, and I'll see if I can post it into it. He came back and he said there is nothing in Windows that allows you to troubleshoot what's going on from a USB device. He said there is nothing in what he said. He searched and he can't find anything to eavesdrop. I think there are stuff you can get that you could plug in line and it'll sniff like a sniffer and it'll tell you what it's gotten. But I don't know, like I'm pretty sure in Linux, because the drivers right there, you could just, dev / whatever, the driver's there. And so I'm pretty sure you could go in and eavesdrop on what the driver's doing, right? But in Windows, they've tried to make it idiot proof, and in trying to make it idiot proof, they've made it understandable. You cannot understand how this stupid thing works.
Okay, yeah, I only have one program that forces me to use Windows on one computer, and that's my antenna rotator. And it uses, I have this PS key rotator, and it uses Windows, and I'm having a problem trying to get the COM port that it's using, and the device I have is a USB LVB tracker, and it's a USB. I don't have the RS-232 chip in it, which I've just ordered. But my problem is that I can't tell what's happening on that port.
You can actually use something called BeagleBox, which is like a USB analyzer, which will tell you everything, but it's at a pretty low level. That's called BeagleBox.
BeagleBox?
Let me just.
Okay.
Yeah, Bob, let me just show you one thing here about devices. I don't know if you may know this. If you run Device Manager, okay, one of the things you have to do if you go to like USB devices, it shows you all the USB devices that you've got. And all these devices are consuming resources. But what it doesn't show you is if you look at the hidden devices. And notice on mine, there's no grayed out devices. Normally, if you have a grayed out device, let me see if I could find, like see how this device here, these devices are grayed out. Mm-hmm. Those devices are not being used. They're not being used, but the driver's loaded and it's consuming resources. So one of the things I had to go through and do was go through and all sound cards which are plugged in before USB or any USB devices, even, you know, you go to your LPT ports. See, like here, I've got a couple of LTP ports that are grayed out. So those drivers are loaded, but it's not being used. So what you got to do, you got to go in here and say uninstall device. And you got to blow away any of those grayed out devices because they are consuming resources. And by you going and doing that, if you look at my USB devices, see there are no grayed out devices because I went through and I painstakingly cleaned this out. And what sometimes you have to go and do, I won't do it, but for example, you go in here and you say update driver, and you say browse my computer, pick a list, and you just reload the existing driver. And that clears out a lot of the junk. So that's a USB I found. Once I did that and I cleared everything out, then I plugged in my USB devices one at a time, got the driver to load, got that USB driver, that device to load, then plug in the next one and get that one to work, and then plug in the next one and slowly go, as opposed to plugging it all in and assuming it's going to work. Plug in one at a time, make sure it works, and you just keep methodically working your way up. And you're not using any USB hubs or docking stations, are you?
I have one hub.
Throw it out.
Three
Throw it out.
connections to it, of which I don't use them all at once, but yeah, it has three to it.
Throw it out. So that hub is consuming a whole bunch of resources on your PC, right? Is it a desktop PC? Does that have PCIe slots, or is it like a laptop?
It's a gaming. It's a desktop PC. It's a gaming.
Okay, so go on Amazon and get a PCIe USB card that plugs into a port. It's like $29. Okay, go and buy one, and it comes with its own USB controller. Plug it in and use that instead of using a hub, and you'll get far better performance. What's that?
How many ports would that have?
How many what?
Ports. How many USB ports?
Oh, you could get them. They'll go up to 4. I've seen ones with 7.
Ooh, that would be
Like
good.
it all depends on how much you're gonna pay. Like I'm gonna get a 4-port one, and it's like $29.
Okay, all right, that's doable.
And they even have USB-C. I saw one where it's got 4 USB 3.0 ports, 2 USB-C ports, and it was $46.
Okay, all right. I got to see if I have any slots left. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Dave? Okay. Well, thanks for that, Dave. That's quite a venture you did. You certainly ate up a lot of time there. 2 months, eh? Okay. Let's see what I got here. You know what? I've kind of forgot what I'm doing here. We can see that?
Yep.
Okay, technology today. My 3 thoughts this month of some interesting technical articles, at least what I thought. Flying probe testing. I think I might have mentioned this once before a while back, but it never really left my mind. But anyway, it's kind of a neat little thing here. It's an automated system where all these probes that basically, as they call it, flies around the top and the bottom of a PCB to make contact with the various test points. So let me just stop sharing here for a sec and change up what I'm doing. All right, can we see that? Can you see the YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Okay. So I won't play the whole thing here, but I'm just going to run a little bit of it. I can get a tattoo like that. anyway, that kind of gives you an idea of what's going on there, which I kind of thought was a bit cool. Let's see, and we'll go back to normal here. Okay, so I gave this some more thought, and I thought, okay, what can we do about it? So I thought, well, in the truest sense of home brewing, here's my version. And the elastic band is rated, and it's good there, so that when the thing comes down and hits the circuit board, it pushes up a little bit, so it doesn't slam into the board. I won't tell you how well it works, though. Okay, another thing that came across, and this is nothing new really, other than they're getting better with these things and newer ones, etc. And actually, Pam was in the hospital there a couple of years ago, and I grabbed a few of the electrodes that they were all plugged into her and took them home. I thought I would do something with them at one day. Never really did, but in the truest sense of home brewing, I did try something eventually. So here I go there. Now, another thing I came across was the MOSFET relay. Now, my original thought was, oh, I wonder if this might be a like solid state switching on our boards and our circuits. I know when we first started with the Dueling 612, Dave, I think you tried some pin diodes and things like that, and all they did was create noise and didn't work out very well. So I thought originally this might be handy. They range in price from about $2 and change up to about, I think, $75, $80 and everything in between. I'm not sure how well it would work, but you know what? They're some of the cheaper ones. You know, I can always play with it and try it and see how well it does work. But we'll see. I did send an email to the company, to Omsemi, I think it was, and asked Omron, sorry, and asked them about its use. But 6 days, 7 days later, they're still ignoring me. And that's it for technology today. I can't see the screen. Is there somebody there for a question?
Yeah, Peter, those relays, it'd be interesting to know if they're for RF or they're for, I know it says communication equipment on the application examples there, but it'd be just curious to know whether they've got enough isolation for RF.
I did see one chip in there that looked like it would be rated for RF, but that particular one was about $80. So I decided that's not the way to go on that one. Now the cheaper ones, yeah, the spec starts changing a little bit. Who knows? But you know what? It wouldn't be the first chip that hams were able to get it to work outside its design parameters, right? So maybe just buying a couple of the ones that are around $2 and just try them out to see how they go might not be a bad idea. But in the end, I did send them an email asking the question, but like I said, I haven't heard back from them.
Yeah, if you look at the Genesis G11 schematic, they use a whole bunch of RF switches, and I've taken a look at them, and they're not that expensive. I can't remember the cost, but they're certainly not, $30 a chip, and they are used for RF. The problem is they're little tiny things. They're not something you could easily see.
Yeah, I saw ones on DigiKey there that were just a little over $2. They came in I think it was I'm not sure. I think it was the SOP package on it. I think it was. So, I mean, you can see there on the screen, there's a wide range of, well, I don't think you want to do that. Those last couple of ones there, they're pretty small. But anyway, like I say, for a couple of bucks, it might be another thing to play with. So next time somebody does a DigiKey order, I'll tag along. Okay. Now, just moving into, I don't know why I can never let go of this measurement techniques thing, but I don't have to be doing too much in the shack, and it always comes back to my mind again. Even after I thoroughly talked it out to death with Dave, I still end up coming back to it. Anyway, so here we go again. And I thought, well, active probe homebrew, one we've talked about off and on for quite some time now, several years, I guess, really. And I thought, well, let's just explore a little bit more into this. And I just put up some, pricing of some of these probes there, as you can see. I think the one that's around $1,200 is Canadian price, and the other ones are all American dollars. Anyway, pretty pricey, so that's not going to be the way to go. I guess everybody pretty much recognizes this guy's face. This circuit here. He explains it very well on his YouTube channel, Mr. Carlson. That was a tongue twister. So if you haven't seen this video, go to his channel and take a look for it. I think it's about 20 minutes long or something like that. But he goes through this schematic and he explains every single component and why it's there and what it's doing. Now, he's geared this one up to, I think, around 40, 45 megahertz. But I think if you look at his results, I think even at HF it would be fine. The slope is so, it doesn't really degrade all that much. But anyway, that's an interesting circuit. The only thing is the 3SK74 gate MOSFET there is, I think it's obsolete. I'm not sure. I didn't do a whole lot of searching around for it, but certainly on DigiKey it's not there. And the same thing with the LT1812 there. I think that one is also an issue as well. One nice thing though is in LT Spice. And I forget what the op amp is offhand. I guess he'll mention it anyways in his video. Anyway, so that might be an interesting one to at least maybe get an idea from. And that one there is direct. That's made for plugging into a 50 ohm, so into your spectrum analyzer or your scope. This one came out a few years ago. It was published in the Elector magazine, I think it was, and I'm not sure if it was called the Poor Man's Active Probe or not. But anyway, here's the schematic for it. Quite easy. The layout is at the bottom in that magazine, and at the top, shortly after this article came out, some guys in the Ukraine leveraged the schematic, and they produced their own board, which you can see at the top, and they're selling them, and you can still buy them off of eBay for I think around $20, somewhere around that neighborhood. But the thing about this one is, well, I got all the parts on hand, so it wouldn't be too difficult to do a board and then get one up and running. I can't remember now if this is a 10-to-1 divide on it, but anyways, the article is easily found online and it's well documented. So here's another one, got out of the Nuts and Bolts magazine. This one here though is 21 to 23 volts input with an 18-volt regulator. So I definitely don't have one of those. The MIC amp it's using, I think, is the MAR 8, and I know I've got some MAR 6s and whatnot on hand, but I don't have a MAR 8. But I do have a MAR 6, and if I'm looking at the specs of the MAR 6 versus the MAR 8, I think you could probably use the MAR 6. And I think Dave, you might have a bunch of MAR 6s still around, do you?
Yeah, I got a few of them.
Yeah. So anyway, but this one here is, like I say, now the voltage requirements is much greater than what the other ones are. So this would be another interesting one to maybe try as well.
But that's a 50 ohm. That's a 50 ohm probe. Peter, look at the front end. It's 50 ohms.
Is it? Oh, yes. Yeah. Maybe I won't try that one. Because these other ones, this one here is 10 meg. And Mr. Carlson's is 10 meg as well. I think, and he actually talks about even going higher if you wish. And he did do a lot of testing, he said, and it didn't really make a whole lot of a difference, but you could if you wanted to. So anyway, I didn't notice that before. Thanks for pointing that out, Dave. Okay. Anyway, so I think that's going to be on the agenda somewhere along fairly soon as well. And, maybe I can put my measurement technique stuff to rest. Okay. Dave.
Yeah, Peter, I was curious about dual gate because I never thought about this before, but as you were talking about the dual gate, because you showed 2 schematics with dual gate MOSFETs,
Yes.
and I thought, why use a dual gate? And so the only thing I could think of was Miller. And sure enough, I posted it in the chat. There was Stack Exchange where they said a dual gate MOSFET behaves like a cascode amplifier. And a cascode amplifier, its purpose is to negate the Miller effect.
Okay.
So that's, I think that's how you get around by increasing the frequency response of that MOSFET, right? Is by using a dual gate MOSFET.
Now, in this case, in both cases of Mr. Carlson's and the Elector one, the gate, one of the gates is tied to the drain in both those circuits.
Yeah, if you read that Stack Exchange post, the guy draws a diagram and he does an analogy to a cascode amplifier. And then he's got the layout of the dual gate MOSFETs, and he shows how the capacitance gets decreased.
And which one is that? Where did you find that one, Dave?
Just Google it. I Googled, does a dual gate MOSFET reduce Miller effect?
Okay. Make a note here.
I posted the link in the chat.
Oh, okay. Good. Any other questions? Oh, who wants to make an active probe? There we go. Kevin.
Oh, sorry. I was just putting my hand up saying, yes, I'll build one.
Oh. And is that what you did as well, Howard?
Same reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, like I say, probably the easiest one will be the one that comes out of the magazine, because Mr. Carlson's is well thought and well tried, but the components might be a challenge now, because I think that is several years old now that he's done that. And he said he was going to do a follow-up video with doing some more improvements, etc. And I went through all his videos and I couldn't find any update to it. Cherry, go ahead.
Yeah, I bought 2 kits recently. You might have seen these pictures I posted earlier, or maybe shared last time. This is the N2 November 2 Charlie X-ray AccuProbe from QRP kits. So I bought this, not started on making it. And also this is a very simple kit for the active probe. This is not an active probe. This is just a normal RF probe. 2 kits I bought. I just wanted to share. By the way, what issue, which year, month was that electro circuit reset?
I don't have it listed here, but if you Google poor man's active probe, it'll come up.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks.
Somebody else had. Dave.
Yeah, Peter, just because a part's obsolete doesn't mean you abandon the schematic.
Yeah.
If that's
I realize that. Yeah.
And the part's is obsolete, it just means you need to get a similar part.
Yeah.
It's the design is there, the architecture is good. You just got to find the right part for it. That's all.
I know he did make a comment that he did a lot of fiddling around, changing components here and there to get things to work right. Mainly the flatness, but he got it anyway. It's an interesting video to watch for sure.
And I guess that's why, Peter, you pay $4,000 for a probe, a commercial probe, where it's completely flat, because they've sourced the products and they've made it a recipe and it's going to work, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's why you pay that kind of money, right?
Yeah, you certainly did get the impression from Mr. Carlson that he spent a lot of time breadboarding this stuff. And yeah, you could say you put your engineering costs into it. Yeah, you can see how it can climb. And then, of course, the good thing with us is that, you know, a lot of these active probes have a very large bandwidth. I'm only interested in a very small bandwidth in comparison, so it should be easier to customize whatever you're doing to be flat in that 1 to 30 megahertz range. Now, who knows if you want to do 1 to 60 or something like that. That might start to introduce a little bit of it, because his falls off, I think, pretty bad. I think around, I want to say at least 3 megahertz, maybe even higher, maybe even 10 megahertz. I can't remember now. But again,
Peter,
sorry?
And Peter, that's what I was going to chime in and say, is that, you know, you can't build something that's going to do everything for you. No. So you have to set design goals to say, I want this. I think it might be impractical to get it to run over the entire HF range. Maybe you could get it to say like 10 megahertz, right? So it's possible to maybe get it to work at 10 megahertz from 1 to 10. And if you could get that to work, maybe that's good enough, because most of the stuff you build is 40 meters or, you know, 20 meters, and maybe that's good enough, right? How often are you going to need a 30 megahertz active probe, right?
Well, you know what? When you're up to 20, well, if you're going to want to do something at 10 megahertz, but you know what? Homebrewing this stuff, it's probably going to come in relatively cheap. So you build 2 of them, and you custom one to, say, like 1 to 15 and 15 to 30 or whatever, you know. But yeah, anyway, it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. I know Dave EAC here actually has one that came from the Ukraine. I keep saying I'm going to borrow it off him to try it out to see how it is. Maybe I should do that before I build it. But anyway, any other comments?
Does it work?
I don't think he's ever tried it. I think he's bought it.
I'm not saying it's a dud. It doesn't work. I'm saying, does it work for? Let me qualify that question. Does it work for the purpose that we typically need a probe for?
He's never used it. He's never tried it. He bought it and he's never taken it out of the package to try it. So maybe actually I should probably just go over there and borrow it from him and run it through and just see how it works. Be a good idea.
And blow it up.
Okay, so I won't borrow it then. Okay, any other comments? Good stuff. Okay, we still got a couple more things to go through here. We got lots of time. So Bert's got some slides to show for 4 days in May and a little bit of dating in there. And did you want to go ahead and do something there, Bert?
Yeah, I thought, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
I thought I would just do a real brief one. I know you guys kind of covered that before, but there's a few pictures of some of you that I captured, and I just thought it might be fun to kind of go through it real quick.
Okay.
Let me see if I can
Especially if they're embarrassing pictures of Dave.
Let me see if, do I need permission to do this or?
No, just share your screen.
Okay.
Or your window, I should say.
Because I'm trying to share it. It says, it's like the allow button is whited out for some reason.
You shouldn't even have an allow button. You should be able to just go hit the share, start screen sharing, and then you'll have a window that'll open up, and then it'll be titled Chrome tab, window, or entire screen.
Yeah, Bert, it's a little bit tough to figure out, but you have to click on the image of what you want to share, and then it will ungray.
All righty. Let's try that. Okay. So you guys able to see that?
Yep.
I guess you have the option of making that full screen on your computers. I don't know. Let's see here. So I want to make this full screen, but it's, sorry, I'm so ignorant of this program here.
It's fine, Bert. Bert, it's fine.
Okay, Bert.
Here we go.
It's perfectly fine. We could see. I could see it clear. I don't want to speak of everyone else, but it seems perfectly clear for me.
So this is the 4 days in May, and I went to Dayton as well. I just stayed at the hotel for the 4 days in May. I spent a little more money. I didn't have the house arrangement. I didn't know that you guys existed either. But this is just a few slides from that, and that's the layout, of course, of Dayton. That was just a snapshot of one of the areas there, the BioInno Power. Are you seeing just the BioInno screen? Or are you also seeing a second window that shows a guy sitting at a desk operating something?
No, I'm not seeing something with a guy operating anything.
Okay.
No, we're just seeing your PowerPoint.
Slide one only.
Okay, are you seeing right now there's a picture of a guy in a van that has this setup with his antennas?
Nope,
No, I
we're
wonder if
seeing
you're the wrong tab, Bert, because it's just a static picture. There it is.
There it is.
Well, okay. I won't try to figure out what the hell's going on with all that, but you're seeing this guy now inside his van, right, with the antenna?
Yes.
So let me go ahead and scroll through that. Jerry Wolzanski, KI4IO, he had a really good talk on his phasing receiver, and I thought that was pretty neat. And I liked how, he kind of shows how he does the kind of modular approach with the different boards and the kind of using, I guess, Manhattan or maybe Dead Bug or whatnot style there. But I found his talk pretty compelling. I think you guys may have covered it already before, but captured
that was a good presentation, Bert. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. This was the Coherent CW talk, which I also enjoyed. It kind of talks about that. Goes through what is Coherent CW, which was kind of interesting. I didn't even know this existed. Didn't know anything about it. And the Raspberry Pi Pico. This guy's talk, the Dr. Greg Latta, I thought was interesting because went through how to kind of construct your own aluminum boxes. I don't know if I'm going to go. When I was watching his talk, I was inspired. I'm like, I'm going to go out and get these tools and I'm going to do this, but I'm not sure I'm going to or not. But it definitely seems like something I run into a lot, at least here, is trying to find a box to put things in. And I go to swap meets and I get, cheap or free boxes that sometimes have things already mounted in them, and I just take the parts out or I repurpose it in some way. Because sometimes when you go out and buy a box, it's actually kind of expensive, I've found. We all know about Ashar Farhan's presentation, and I actually I picked up his SBitX. I don't know if there's a picture of that. This guy. I was a big spender and picked up one of these, and have not even been home, believe it or not, since that FDIM. I've hardly been home enough to even use this thing. I've had visitors from out of town. I was out of town last weekend, but I have not yet got on the air, but I'm hoping to. It looks like it should be a lot of fun. This rig I'm still hoping to build. I had to put together a workbench because I really didn't like the workbench I had. It's kind of using a flimsy plastic banquet table. It kind of wobbles around, and so I finally got kind of a more robust kind of workshop workbench that I'm putting together, and then I'm going to redo my soldering station and kind of get going on that. I don't know if any of you guys built this yet. I know a couple of people have bought the QMX, but maybe not. Alrighty, so this is what I want to kind of get to, just pictures from the buildathon. So there's Rex Harper and a couple club members there. There's Cherry and sorry, I forget is it Eric? I think.
Yeah, the wrong guy's Eric. Slow and then there's my kind of little rat's nest there. I threw together that board there.
So I guess the funny thing about me there is I didn't, this is the first FDIM and buildathon I've ever done. And I just went on the website of the QRP club to register for all this stuff. And I did not realize this was kind of a separate thing that you had to pay for and bring sort of your own soldering tools and stuff. So I sort of showed up with nothing. And, you know, Rex like, well, yeah, we always get one of these every time. And he had some extra kits, and he was, you know, gracious enough to kind of let me participate. And he had soldering iron, but so it was kind of a minimalist setup for me. I was just sitting on the table, sort of stuffing the board, but I got it to work amazingly enough. So kudos to me, I guess. This is a talk in Dayton that I really liked about Arduinos. I don't know if anyone went to this one. I don't know anything about Arduino at all. I'm sure a lot of you guys have used it. I'm completely ignorant on Arduino, but I see it pop up a lot with circuits and projects. So I really want to remedy that sometime, hopefully before the year ends. I'll start learning how to at least kind of do some simple projects with it. I don't have this man's book. I've got another one written by a different guy for ham radio projects. And I know there's a lot of stuff online, I'm sure. But
well,
anyway.
Bert, you can ask Dave about Glenn. He really, he's a big fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't ask him, Bert. Don't ask him.
This is the Elecraft K4. I had ambitions to buy this thing, but my pockets aren't quite that deep. It's like, I think it was like $5,500 US dollars or whatever. So maybe someday, but not right now. And this is the winner, Jim Scott, of the 2-transistor receiver. I would like to kind of understand a little more about what he did there. I don't know if they kind of show his design, or maybe it's posted already. I haven't had a chance to look. Winner of the direction finding antenna that was designed by Rick Campbell and his daughter, I guess, and some of those people that he was working with at, I guess, the university. That was kind of interesting. So that's about it. I'll let you guys get back to it.
You know, the guy who won that circuit, he was so happy that he came in and he bought rounds at the bar that night after he found out that he won. But he went over the circuit, and it is very unique. I think he's using the same transistors to amplify not only the RF but the audio as well. So, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Bert.
Years ago, so I used to follow the Solder Smoke blog. I don't know if you guys do or not. I used to follow it religiously like 10 years ago, and then I just sort of drifted away. But there was some guy, a circuit called a Petitico. I don't know if you remember hearing about that, but I think it was like a 1 or 2 transistor. It might have even been just a single transistor. I don't know. It was something crazy, but it was like a receiver transmitter combo with, I think, one. I'd have to look it up again. It's probably 2 transistors, I guess, but it was very, very, very minimalist. But it did actually sort of work. I built it, but I mean, you're not gonna get DXCC with it probably, but it was pretty fun.
Well, as long as you can work the estate next door, that should be good enough. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, that was pretty good, Bert. Thank you very much. I enjoyed that.
You're welcome.
Just a couple of comments. One, I guess about the aluminum chassis. I would suggest to you, instead of buying tools, why don't you look at getting a 3D printer? Because if you look like Bob there, if you look at in the background behind Bob, you can see he's got a 3D printer prominently displayed there. And many of us have 3D printers. And we print our own chassis and stuff. And one of the things you could do is, I've done this before my BitX. I did this with my BitX 20, the original the BitX from Farhand, is I took cardboard and I made an enclosure to go around the power amp, and I'd use metal tape. And I just put metal tape, and you could 3D print something and just put metal tape inside of it. And for us, that'll probably work just as well. Yeah. And the other thing I was going to say is, Glenn Propeel, or whatever. Learning Arduino. Don't buy any books. Okay, do yourself a favor. The only way you're going to learn is you got to have a project. You got to have something to go and do. And you got to go and do it. Buying a book and reading a book is not going to help unless you've got a project. Once you've got something in mind, like the way I learned how to program Arduino was jumping in and writing code for things, right? And I had to go out and learn, and it took me months to go and learn it, but it forced me to go and learn it. So get a project, something you need to go and do, something around a shack that you need to go and build, and build it. Like going and writing code to blink an LED and change a pot, that doesn't really teach you much.
Well, I've
right?
got a project already that was kind of in the stream that used an Arduino, and I just sort of got halfway through it, and then life happened, and I just didn't get back to it for a long time. And then I got a book to kind of assist with that, I guess. So I sort of had a project, but I know what you mean, because sometimes you kind of run out of steam or motivation if you're just trying to build something trivial that's not really very compelling versus something that you want to build. And so yeah, but my biggest issue with all these things is just time. I run out of time. Other things happen. Other priorities come along, and things kind of get backburnered. So
it's called life. It's called life.
Right.
Have you got a programming background at all, or this is completely foreign to you?
No, I mean, so I have electrical engineering background. I did, for school, I had to do some programming, and back in high school and stuff. But my professional career, I didn't really do a lot of programming, so I'm really rusty. For you, you'll pick it up a lot quicker. You would pick it up quick. It just, again, if you've got a project and you jump in, if ever you need help figuring the stuff out, let me know. Especially if you want to learn about how to, I don't want to say do it the right way because I'm going to sound arrogant, but if you want to do things a good way, reach out to me. There's something called Platform.io. Okay, and it's a plugin. Do you know what Visual Studio is? Not really.
Yeah, Visual Studio is a very powerful IDE for developing code. Very, very powerful. And you've got this plugin called Platform.io, and it can compile code for almost any microcontroller. It can generate code for a PIC microcontroller, Arduino, for a Amtel, the Blue Pill, what's that? STM. It could generate code for almost anything. So there are some things, and if you want to, evolve and you want to do more in this, then let me know. I'll be more than happy to show you, give you some tips and tricks.
All right, sounds good.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Bert. Appreciate that. That's great. Eric, did you want to talk a little bit about the upcoming weekend? Or not?
Eric has left the building.
Had to find the unmute button.
What are you new?
No, I'm just getting old. So, all right. So I sent a post this afternoon to the SOAREXgroups.io, but I guess I won't go over everything because all the details that I could really think of are there. As far as anyone who is considering attending, have a look at that. Gives you the location, the rough agenda, sleeping accommodations. So just, reinforcing those of you that are local. It'd be great if Dwayne and Bob, you guys came up, but hey, I know you're not you'd have to leave now probably. So
pick up Bert on the way.
That's Bert. Yep. Hey, could carpool. Yeah. You know what? For your first visit, we'll fly you up here, courtesy of SOAREX. So.
Okay, what time is the flight?
It'll be a jet that'll come to you. So don't worry.
Dave's a
You
pilot,
have
so
to provide your
he'll
own
pick you up.
wings. You have to provide your own wings.
Dave will get a drone to snag you by the scruff of your neck. And
Yeah, Dave can rent a Cessna 174, is it?
two. Anyway, so yeah, as I just want to reemphasize, this is not a formal, contest version of Field Day. This is going to be a, relaxed, casual event. Those who want to operate and do things, we have more or less agreed on a group call sign based off of Ken's honoring our new head of state, King Charles. Yeah, you didn't see the email? No, the posting. CJ3ABN is going to be our call that we're going to use. So we're going to try and collate our any contacts that are made that weekend. So as Dave suggested some time ago, bringing your own rigs, something that you've put together either as a kit or brewed up yourself, would be kind of nice. We've got antennas that'll handle up to a couple hundred watts. No problem. Bands 10 through 80. So, and feel free to bring your own equipment and, antennas even. We got lots of high trees to put dipoles up and whatever you want. Launching equipment if you need to get a wire up high in a tree, all that. So those of you that have been here before know the deal, but those of you that haven't, even if you can only come for a short period of time, half a day, a few hours, I expect to have some people showing up Friday afternoon or evening. But it goes right till 4:59 p.m. on Sunday. That's the official close of Field Day for as far as the ARRL is concerned. So, as well, if you want to sell anything or pick up things that are for sale, Saturday morning, Al Wolfrey, member that used to come regularly to our previous iteration of the Park Homebrew Group, will be there. He's got some things that he wants to divest himself of. He was there last year and I think did a pretty good job of clearing out some things.
You were there.
No, you're right. I did buy one or two things from him, but I didn't put a big dent in it. So, but anyway, anything that you want to bring along, we can have a little informal table set up for show and tell to purchase, and that's really about it. So,
okay, I just make sure you put the firewood under cover so we have dry firewood for the bonfire, and I think I'm going to bring the Phoenix along with me. I'm going to try and configure. I won't have the transmitter working, but I'm going to try and configure. So far, I've been running the Phoenix with just signal generators. So I think what I'm going to do is bring the controller along and try to configure the controller to work with it. So that's what I'm going to be mucking around with. Hopefully, we'll get that going. Dave.
Is Al's launcher going to be there? Because last time Al was launching stuff in trees, and I was surprised no one got maimed.
Yeah. Didn't he kill a dog?
No, the dog never came back.
The cows wouldn't give milk for a week after that visit.
I think it was like he was holding a rocket launcher the wrong way, and it fired backwards or something. No.
I think he killed a chicken though, didn't he?
Oh, that's right. They stopped laying eggs. I thought it was a cow stopped milking. Are you coming out, Al?
Unfortunately, I've got commitments all weekend. So if you want the launcher, is there anybody in Mississauga I can drop it off with? Actually, Al Wolfie is just down the street from you. Yeah. Could probably get him to bring it up.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right.
There is also going to be a screening of a movie. I'm not sure exactly when, but probably Saturday evening. So those of you that aren't coming,
it's going to be like Team America or something stupid like that.
Oh no, even better. Do you want me to tell you? Do you want me to give you a spoiler?
It better not be that movie you tried to show us at 4 Days in May.
Did you hear that Sharknado's got a new out? It's like atomic shark or nuclear shark or something.
Nuclear shark.
But who's going on Friday? And what time?
I'm likely going to go bright and early Saturday morning. I'm not sure I'm going to go Friday night. It depends. If it's pouring rain, then definitely it'll be Saturday morning for sure. Well, who's going? I think Ken is going Friday, is he not, Kevin? Or I mean, Eric?
Ken, I believe, will be here Friday. Yes.
Because I was going to come up and drop off Al's and Wayne's transistor tracer for Ken to keep at his place because it's closer. But
Right.
I'm not sure if no one's coming up. I'm not saying Ken's no one, but if just Ken and I'm not going to drive all the way from Paris.
Well,
to
I have to
come out
drive
there.
all the way from Kingston, and you're complaining about Paris?
Yeah, but you're not coming out for one day. You're not coming out. Like I'm leaving Friday night. I'm not staying.
Party Cooper. You might have to go into the penalty box for this. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wayne's not. Well, Wayne had to leave early, so I'm not too sure if he's coming out or not. Unless you know, Eric.
No, I don't. I haven't heard at all from him. So no.
I know Hassan said he was coming out, but I don't know when.
Yep.
Okay.
And all right. So yeah, that was it. So
Okay.
looking forward to it.
Anybody else have any other comments, queries, questions, what have you, before we call it? Okay, great. Okay, everybody. Well, thanks very much for joining in tonight, participating. It's great to see you all again, and we'll see some of you on the weekend. And the next meeting will be the Mixer, July 5th. And I believe, Eric, you're on tap for that one.
No, I think it's you.
No, it's you, buddy. I'm looking at the map right now. Yellow. Yeah, it's you. Don't forget, you screwed it all up by
Okay.
taking the place.
We'll have to talk offline because I'm going to be in transit that day. So.
Oh, for crying out loud. Okay, we're going to have another one in the penalty box. Okay, guys. 7-3. We'll catch you all later.
And it's my birthday too, so don't I get a break?
Not now. You ruined
Hey, Eric, is that LobsterCon, Troy?
Yeah, that's when we depart. Yep.
Oh, is that
it's your
LobsterCon?
birthday?
Yeah.
Am I going to have to buy you a cake or something?
Okay.
No, lobster.
I'll buy you a sandwich. Okay.
A lobster sandwich.
Gee, does that mean I have to be nice to you on the drive down?
Something meat sandwich.
Hey, kill the recording. Kill the recording.
Yeah, true.
Hey, Kevin, where are you,
Yes.
man? You got